What is up, XRP community? Welcome back to another video. Towards the end, I have a video clip of David Schwartz, the Ripple Chief Technology Officer. Really brilliant guy. Talking about XRP and its potential as a world reserve currency. He did this in a Twitter space. A lot of big players, a lot of smart money making big moves in crypto. I'm going to cover all that. Congress coming after Gary Gensler. And then this first quote here. This is from 2017. But it talks about why the price of XRP must be high if there's more money going through the network. Obviously, if Ripple succeeds with his goal to be the internet of value, more and more money will start transacting upon the XRP ledger. And David Schwartz says, XRP can't be dirt cheap. It doesn't make any sense. If XRP cost $1, they would need a million XRP, which would cost $1 million. If XRP cost $1 million, they would need 1 XRP, which would again cost $1 million. The higher the price of XRP, the less slippage on these transactions. And so in a world in the future where we see more tokenized assets on the XRP ledger and more money flowing through it, that will cause the price to be higher so that the network can be more scalable. This guy says the Saudis will make Saylor, this is the head of MicroStrategy, the guy who's been buying tons of Bitcoin over the years, look like a peanut. A $500 billion buy order triggering a God candle is a done deal. Now, one thing that I would have to say to this is people that buy hundreds of millions, if not billions of Bitcoin, typically do it over the counter, because if someone did place a $500 billion Bitcoin market buy, the price of Bitcoin would skyrocket to 80, 100K. And this is after breaking news that big oil money, the Saudis, are entering Bitcoin. 90-year-old Saudi Arabian Salafi cleric writes a fatwa deeming Bitcoin acceptable under Islam. And Islam has an interesting opinion on money. One of the things I like about Islam is that they've banned usury. I don't know if I'm saying that right, which is the practice of charging interest on money lending. A lot of people consider that modern day slavery, and they are deeming Bitcoin acceptable under Islam. There's even more stuff with Saudi Arabia though. Look at this right here. Iran and Russia finalized a deal to trade in local currencies, ditching the US dollar. And even more, China and Saudi Arabia ditched the US dollar to sign a $50 billion yuan currency swap for trade. This allows China to start buying oil outside the U.S. controlled financial system. If you guys didn't think the end was near for the U.S. dollar, it's headlines like these that reinforce that hypothesis. They call it the petrodollar for a reason, because there is no inherent value behind the paper dollar. The gold standard was ditched in 1972, and through militaristic global dominance, as well as the petro backing of the dollar, the US dollar saw a lot of dominance. We're seeing that fall in real time. And Cathie Wood, this is the head of ARK Invest. Everyone is saying when the Bitcoin ETFs are approved, the market's going to go crazy. But ask yourself, why would she sell all of her Bitcoin from the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust if she's 99% sure a Bitcoin ETF is about to get approved? In my opinion, the reason that Bitcoin has been going up in the past 2 months is because the event of a Bitcoin ETF getting approved has already been priced into the market. Guys, they say buy the rumor, sell the news for a reason. And I think when these Bitcoin ETFs do get approved, maybe you'll see a little bit of a spike, but ultimately you're going to see a sell-off. The market has already priced in this Bitcoin ETF, and that's pretty evident to me. If you guys need a spot to get XRP or other cryptos, I recommend Uphold. It's sleek, it's simple, it's secure. You can find a link to Uphold in the video description below. And if you want $41 guaranteed for free, just sign up with Webull, deposit 1 penny, and boom, you get $41 in free stocks that you can sell and get some more crypto if you want. You can find Webull in the video description below. And more about Michael Saylor and Bitcoin. This came out yesterday. He bought 14,620 Bitcoins ahead of the Bitcoin ETF approval. So I would not say I'm smarter than Michael Saylor, even though he did go from having like a $14 billion net worth to under $1 billion in the dot-com boom. He's a very smart investor. I wouldn't say I'm smarter than him. I think that's pretty trivial. And I was just saying the Bitcoin ETF is going to be a buy the rumors, sell the news event. Maybe I'm wrong because he's buying all this Bitcoin. However, I do think he's super long on Bitcoin and he doesn't care about Bitcoin's performance in the next year, 3 years, 5 years. Sailor and MicroStrategy are looking at Bitcoin at a 5 to 10 year time horizon. In more news about the U.S. government national debt, reaching an all-time high of $34 trillion. What a world record, guys. Congratulations to all United States citizens. What an accomplishment we have made. A $34 trillion debt. Ex-Goldman Sachs executive says he's long XRP after pouncing on an opportunity of a lifetime. This is Raoul Paul. And just another smart investor, used to work at Goldman Sachs, bullish on Bitcoin. And this guy isn't the smartest investor, but he's a big influencer in the crypto space. Ex-BitBoy Crypto, Ben Armstrong, saying that XRP will start moving in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Pack your bag, boys. It's about to go to all-time highs. Keep in mind, guys, XRP has been moving sideways for a while now, and it only can move sideways for so long. It's sitting above very crucial resistance levels in the 50 and 60 cent range. And so I don't think this is that outlandish to say in the next 3 to 4 weeks we could see some action on Bitcoin. And this is great to see. The U.S. Congressman Warren Davidson says 2024 would be a great time to fire Gary Gensler and hold the SEC accountable for its corruption. This is coming as more and more people are starting to see the inconsistencies and hypocrisies of Gary Gensler. And with Congress having the ultimate power to dethrone someone like Gary Gensler, now they are actually calling for it. And we also have an election in 2024. So you could see the tides changing on crypto, very much so. And more about the government and crypto. The U.S. government passes a bill to promote mass blockchain adoption. They say to direct the Secretary of Commerce to take actions necessary and appropriate to promote the competitiveness of the United States related to the deployment, use, application, and competitiveness of blockchain technology or other distributed ledger technology and for other purposes. For the past 3, 4, 5 years, the U.S. has not made crypto competitive. And we saw that with the Ripple lawsuit, right? Allowing FTX and some other big scams to fall through the cracks. And then coming after one of the most legitimate companies in crypto, Ripple. Now we are starting to see the tides turning. And here's this Twitter space talking about XRP, the world reserve currency, and David Schwartz, the Ripple CTO.
Do you believe that there can be two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist?
I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that a lot of the world is just done with the dollar as their reserve currency. I think that there's a lot of places that are willing to try something else. And one of my scenarios, and I don't think it's going to play out quickly, but like one of my wild case success scenarios for a digital asset is if countries start to realize that the US dollar is not going to be the reserve currency forever. Other things are going to be the reserve currency. And the same thing that we saw with banks. Like people, when we started selling software to banks, people would say to me, why would a bank use something that like you guys were selling them when they could use something that was like made by banks? And what they didn't realize is that, only like 10 banks in the country, on the planet, are Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan Chase, like the ones who would build a system that the entire planet would run on. For the rest of the banks, that's 6,000 smaller banks, those are their biggest, strongest competitors. Those are the entities they hate the most. They would not want to use the system built and maintained by them because it's going to be biased in favor of them, their biggest and strongest competitors. And I think the same thing could happen to nations. Like every nation would love for their currency to be the world reserve currency. That's helped the U.S., that's grown the U.S. economy, quote unquote, unfairly by leaps and bounds for decades. And every other country would be like, yeah, we'd like to have the world be the world's reserve currency. But the only countries that could possibly pull it off is the U.S. holding its position, maybe the EU, maybe Russia, maybe one or two others. But realistically, most countries know that if there's going to be a new world reserve currency that's a country's currency, it's not going to be them. And so they might actually prefer a currency that nobody can control to one that's controlled by their largest geopolitical rivals. And so that's like what I think is the biggest possible success scenario for digital assets. If these countries are like, okay, well, the U.S. dollar can't hold on forever, but it's not going to be our currency because no one's going to want to repeat the U.S. dollar scenario. Nobody but the EU wants the EU to replace the dollar, right? Nobody but Russia wants the ruble to replace the dollar. Nobody but China wants the yuan to replace the dollar. So maybe they could settle on a currency that nobody could control rather than one controlled by their most powerful geopolitical rival. So if you want a success scenario, that's the one that I think is the most likely.
But the money question is, how do you get everybody to agree?
Well, I mean, they might agree if the alternative is that their geopolitical rivals force some new replacement for the dollar that's not, if they just replace, the old boss with a new boss. If the choice is no boss, if that happens to make a bunch of cryptocurrency people rich, I don't think they're going to see that as too much of a minus.